To deliver success on LinkedIn, you need to be visible. You need to be generating and posting interesting, useful posts for your profile to keep it live and engaging. You also need to build your network and actively nurture those connections.
The difference with LinkedIn is that 80% of all social media B2B leads, 80% come from LinkedIn.
The problem is, those are the measurements that are most visible. If you send a bunch of messages to people on LinkedIn, there's nowhere that says this is the percentage of people accepting your invite.
It doesn't make you any money. It's a vanity metrics. It's like turnover is vanity, profit is sanity. So welcome back to Build with Dean. Before we get started, it costs us a lot to keep content flowing to help the audience for free. So we are looking for a little bit of support, and the free support that you can do today, wherever you're watching, is just to subscribe. And we'd really appreciate that so that we can bring you lots more content that hopefully adds value to you. So thanks in advance for that. Today, I'm joined by Elliot Zisman, founder of Phase 2 and Maestro. Elliot spent over 25 years helping ambitious companies to grow, scale, and become visible. Through Phase 2, he's worked with founders and executives to turn LinkedIn into a growth engine, building authority and creating demand with them. With Maestro, he's gone further, blending AI and human insight to help professionals to educate their markets and earn trust at a bit bigger scale. So Elliot knows LinkedIn inside out, as do I, not just as a content platform, but as a credibility layer for modern businesses. So we're going to dive into where LinkedIn is right now and then where it's heading as AI kind of reshapes discovery and branding into 2026. So let's dive in. Welcome, Elliot.
Thanks, Dean. It's great to be here.
Good.
Excited to have a conversation.
Indeed. So why don't you give us a bit of an idea for the audience that's watching, that's thinking, what's LinkedIn all about? How are we going to work with LinkedIn? How, what does it mean going forward? A bit of background into what you've been doing, how you've helped people with LinkedIn, just a bit of a flavor about you.
Sure thing. So, I've been working with LinkedIn in various different ways for, probably since it started. Even got a photo of myself outside of their office in San Francisco from taken at some point or other. So I'm a bit of a LinkedIn geek.
Nice.
There's three main ways you can use LinkedIn. It's a really interesting platform in that regards. You can, like any social media platform, you can post content and comment and like and view other people's content. You can also network with people, connect to them, add them to your network, and message them directly. And then finally, you can advertise with them. What we do is we focus on the first two of those. We're big believers that to deliver success on LinkedIn, you need to be visible. You need to be generating and posting interesting, useful posts for your profile to keep it live and engaging. But you also need to build your network and actively nurture those connections. There's no point just having people watch the content, giving you some likes. It's all lovely to get that, but that doesn't necessarily drive the opportunities that every business needs. So our belief is that it's a combination of those two things that really drive success on LinkedIn. I'll happily sort of dive into that during the course of this event.
Interesting. And it's it depends how you look at it. I hear a lot of people say to me, LinkedIn, it's saturated and everybody's doing it. And so, what's the opportunity? But actually there's a huge content gap. So it's responsible for 9 billion impressions a year, which is a big number, but there's only 1% who post. That means 99%. So it's actually, when you compare that to other platforms and the amount of the population that post, there's a massive gap there. So anyone who thinks it's kind of saturated, well, the stats don't lie, and them's the stats. So there's an opportunity to do something, right?
9 billion's a lot of impressions. I do have a problem with LinkedIn's algorithms. I was
Traditional or
talking.
new?
What's that? Sorry.
The traditional algorithms or the new ones, recent changes?
For me, the algorithm's always updating, and I think one thing that we've seen is actually, I, what I'm seeing, and I'm not like anyone, no one has the inside track onto all of the algorithms and exactly what's happening. But I was talking to a client the other day, or a prospective client the other day, and she was doing lots of posts, but all very, very personal posts. She'd been in hospital for something, there'd been a bereavement in her family. These are important things in her life, and getting hundreds of comments and well wishes and things like that. And then occasionally she was posting about something work related and getting 5 comments. And I can't get away from, there seems to me the what the algorithm is still preferring, or people are still liking and commenting on, are either those more personal posts, which are fine, but maybe not necessary for a business to business network, or the posts that are, I don't want to say clickbait, but those kind of posts where it's like, hey, here's what I've done with XYZ, comment X to receive a free copy of it in a sort of clickbaity way.
Mm.
And I talk to people, and there's still a sort of question saying, well, I'm not, when I do something interesting, it's not really getting the visibility, and people get frustrated by that. And
Mm.
so I think if the system is not necessarily rewarding, showing, promoting those super value added posts, then people will start to not produce those super value added posts. And
Is
I
that
think
the
that's a
reason that
real shame.
1% do the posts? But
I think I remember first when I first, launched my business and put a video up and immediately got 5,000 views. And there's one thing that certainly encouraged, which was me to do another one. And I
mm,
think if you put time and effort into an article, or a video or anything, and it gets a couple of likes and one of them's from your mum who happened to have logged in, it sort of doesn't really, you're not going to put that time and effort in. And so then maybe that is the answer. Social media is driven by endorphins and likes and this, that, and the other. That's what drives people to post more and more content. So when you see the
mm.
same people who are getting those clicks and looking at it, well, why are they? And I think a lot of business people are sitting there saying, I'm better than that guy. I'm more experienced. I have more knowledge. Yet why am I invisible? And this person seems to be taking my market share. And that's what stops them doing anything on it, because they're not getting the traction. So they think, well, there must be some other way of spending my time.
Do
And I think
you
that's a shame.
think Do you think we're chasing the wrong metrics? Because I agree with you. I think that's, as humans, we want validation, we want likes, we want people, we want people to like and comment. But the reality is, in real life, if you do something and 2 people say to you, I saw what you did, I liked what you did, that energy would be enough for you to go, that's brilliant. That's brilliant. Sarah saw that. Sarah said to me, Sarah likes it. You wouldn't need 1,000 likes to carry on going. You just need a couple. So we've got lost in this kind of everyone wanting to become algorithms. This is just my theory, by the way. So if we're on LinkedIn, I get it because it's really hard. Like, we've got a huge content machine and we're not getting the justification on LinkedIn, even though we bring clients to the platform, even though we created tw 27% of our content is video on LinkedIn. So we're bringing video to the platform as it wants. So even as a producer who brings clients to LinkedIn, we don't get the validation potentially that we need. But I wonder whether we're looking at the wrong metrics. If you flip that
Well,
around.
we are. Yeah. Sorry to cut across you, but
Mm,
there's the metrics we need to look at for this is, am I having real conversations with people that can have,
conversations.
with people that can have a positive impact on my business, whether it be a new client, a new employee, a new investor, etc., supplier partner.
Mm.
And you need it, and ultimately that's what it's about. Now, to get those, you need to have a certain, there's a whole load of things beforehand that you can measure: views, people looking at your profile, connections being built, all of these kind of things, replies to those messages. All of these drive that. I think people seem to, but just looking at the likes and the comments, many of which are AI generated anyway. In fact, many of the likes are from people in
Mm.
a sort of silly little pod that are just going around liking each other's stuff. That's it's that people have got to get away from that as a measurement. The problem is those are the measurements that are most visible. If you send a bunch of messages to people on LinkedIn, or you have inviting people, there's nowhere that says on LinkedIn, this is the percentage of people accepting your invite. In fact,
No,
link,
there isn't, Elliot,
yeah,
but it doesn't stop us tracking it. I see it as like, I have a
no, no, I know
background in
that.
sales. So I think when you look at taking just an analogy from a different subject, because most people, whoever's watching and building something, they're going to understand sales, right? Whether they understand LinkedIn or not is another question. But everyone's doing sales. If you take that and you have a sales team of people, and people will have said to me in the past, how many calls are they making? How many dials are
Mm.
they making? Who gives a flying, I'm not going to say the word, but that's not a metric that we should measure. That's a vanity metric for someone that wants to control workload, right? But then you follow that through in sales, what metrics? What are we looking at? We're looking at pipeline, deal flow, and revenue. That's it. And so when you're managing a sales team, those are the metrics you should look at. So if you forward that through into LinkedIn, who cares how many likes and comments you have? It doesn't make you any money. It's a vanity metrics. It's like turnover is vanity, profit is sanity, right? So is it then fair to say that we should be tracking conversations, deal flow, and revenue from LinkedIn and flipping it around and actually just missing those front end metrics completely?
Yeah, I
What
mean
do you
it is, one of the disadvantages of LinkedIn is that it is very difficult to track the metrics that you've just stated. For example, if I am doing an outbound campaign, I would
Mm,
like to know the percentage of people that accept my activity. By the way, activity is important, especially when you're starting something new as a new
mm,
salesperson. How many
sure.
calls have you made, and all this kind of stuff. Um, but being able to track what matters, well, this percentage of people are replying, this percentage of people are replying in a positive way to this message. These are things that are important because you can build on that. Well, if I put a lead magnet out, I can't tell you necessarily the number of people that have replied to it or clicked on it or things like that. There's other tools you can use. Maestro, our tool will show you, will be able to measure it. But natively within the LinkedIn platform, it is very difficult to measure true sales success other than the
Mm,
vanity metrics of, look at me, I got some likes, I got some laughs, I got some comments of people going, well done, or I'm really impressed with what you were doing right here. Please continue to post such interesting content.
mm.
Yeah, thanks. Move on.
So why is it then important for people to be using LinkedIn as a platform?
Well, that's the thing. It is vital to get it right and measure the right things. It is, and just to come back to the posting content thing, it is
Mm,
super important to post content just for different reasons. You want to be posting helpful, impactful, educational content, because when people come to research you, they look at you and they look at your post and go, oh, this person knows what they're talking about. I want to have a conversation with them. I'm just saying the algorithm isn't necessarily going to deliver your post to the top, but when you connect with people, invite them to join your network, and they look at you, then they're going to be looking at your profile. So it is super important to get that
mm,
right. But overall, if you are in a B2B business and you are looking to, and you have a responsibility to drive your business forward in some way, LinkedIn is where people are going and buyers are going to do the research. And they're going to look you
Mm.
up.
And
When
that's the
you're doing a
important
pitch,
part.
yeah,
That's the
yeah,
important part, isn't it? That they are going to look you up. And that's the world that we live in. And by the way, when people are buying, they need something like 7 hours of content consumption now to buy. They need 11.2 touch points, and they're going to look you up not just on LinkedIn, not just on Google, but on all of those social platforms. So content's incredibly important. The difference with LinkedIn is that 80% of all social media B2B leads, 80% come from LinkedIn. That's the difference.
yeah.
It's the
It's
the
100%. And we there are no doubting the statistics.
mm,
Um, I can sit here and criticize how it allows you to measure and how the algorithm shows your feed. But in reality, if you're targeting a senior person or a certain buyer, then they're not going to be scrolling through their feed in the same way as they scroll through their Instagram or their TikTok or Twitter, right? But they will see a message and the right type of message. People have managed to tune out the bad and focus in on the helpful. And we see it time and again that if you're connected with someone and you ask a question or you help them in a certain way, um, it does have an impact and it does get through. And
yeah.
whilst it's not a perfect system, it's what it is, the platform. So you've got to be present on there if that's the industry you're in.
And also to flip the narrative from I'm wonderful, this is what we do, this is how amazing we are, that kind of old school fact feature benefit. Let's just tell everyone the networking event we went to, the exhibition we went to, what we did,
Here's a
all
picture of my
that stuff.
company dog that is,
Yeah. Yeah, and here's a repost
fine.
of someone else did the work and then I've reposted it, that kind of stuff. We're not talking about posting for the sake of posting. We're talking strategically to actually add value, to tell your audience at any moment, this is just my opinion, that any moment when they come to your profile, it could be today, it could be in 1 week's time, it could be in 3 weeks' time, but every time someone visits your profile, they see who you are, how you help, who you serve, and that you actually genuinely care about helping those
Mm.
people.
Yeah. And of course, there's nothing wrong with a couple of personal things in there if you want, or hey, this is a story of behind the scenes, what I've been up to. Sure, mix it up. But, there is you don't allow swearing on this show, do you? I can't remember. There
No,
is a theory. Okay, I'll rephrase it. There is something called HOGAS, which is something I came up with a
yeah,
while ago, which is called the hierarchy of giver stuff. Let's put it like that.
yeah,
And this is what people give a stuff about. And at the top of this hierarchy is themselves and the problems they have. And next one down are their colleagues, their team, and then their company. And then underneath that is the suppliers they've already working with and probably the office, etc., etc. You
yeah.
are right at the bottom. They don't care. They don't care what you've been up to. They don't care what you do. They don't care about your product at this stage. They care about the problems they have and how to fix them. So if you are posting content that says, hey, if you've got this problem, here's how to fix it, great. If you send them a message saying, you know, hey Dean, I've just been working with insert, a company that is basically the same as yours, direct competitor, and we fixed this problem for them. Yeah, would you like me to share with you how, how we did it? Do you want to have a conversation about that? They're like, yeah. Or we're running an event. We're going to talk about ABC. You're going to learn about this. Are you interested in coming along? I think it'd be quite interesting for you. You're going to get better than average responses to
Mm.
that. hi, this is all about us. We are PHP developers who've got expertise and blah, blah, blah. We can generate you leads and 50 leads and we guarantee you 50 a day. Here's my Calendly, followed by um, I know you're busy, but just want to bubble it up to the top of your inbox,
Mm.
followed by sometimes just a question mark, as if the copywriting has died so much they just can't be bothered. They just want to pop it up. And then followed by an inevitable, don't worry, this is the last you'll hear from me. They're normally true to their word on that. And I don't see how that would ever help you build your brand and build trust in what you do versus a much more educational approach. And it seems to me that LinkedIn is full of one and needs more of the other. But I do firmly believe
Mm.
that intelligent people, and let's face it, if you're targeting a senior buyer, they're an intelligent person. They didn't get there just from, just from luck. They
Yeah.
can see through it. They see through it. People have learned to scan and go, no, 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 no. Oh, that's interesting. We see the stats. We know
Yeah.
the kind of messages that will get 20+% replies to. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what people, that's the power of the platform. It works. It does work. But like any marketing, you got to do it. You got to do it correctly. Like you've got to have the right messaging. It's been like that in
Sure.
marketing for 100 years or 1,000 years.
Sure, and I think the issue with that is, is the time. And there's so many different platforms and there's so much choice. So I do sympathize. But I think you're absolutely right. The kind of account-based marketing, almost and the thought behind personalization is what people are looking for now. And I think more importantly as well, because in the AI sea of content where three times more content on the internet. And anyone, the price point for cinematic quality video is going to be coming down. Fast forward 6 months, and I'm sure that, anybody can post anything really quickly at a much better price point that makes it attainable. And so businesses will. Why? Because they want to move at speed. So it brings in this kind of element of actually that's a reason for your content aspect of this. So the personalization, absolutely, like people should invest 4 or 5 hours a week, in my opinion, like maybe even a day, 2 days. Depends how much time you've got and how many sales you need, right? But the
Yeah,
content aspect,
yeah, go
Elliot,
on.
just before
Mm,
the content aspect, is going to become more important. And there's two reasons here that people probably haven't factored in. So I'm going to get quite futuristic here in terms
go
of,
for it.
but from a personal branding point of view, I think if you show me a successful founder-led brand, and founder-led brands are 7 times more likely to succeed in terms of revenue or people to buy from. There's loads of kind of psychological stats that people buy from people, right? Um, so from a personal branding point of view, if you show me a successful business and a founder-led brand, then what they're talking about on LinkedIn might surprise you because some of it is personal stuff, some of it is opinions, a lot of it is it's not all about their business and how wonderful that often they don't mention their businesses, these people when they're on LinkedIn. So there's something to be taken from that at a lower level. It is okay to talk personal, but it's not, talking about your problems is one thing. Talking about your aspirations, your dreams, and what you're passionate about will really help you because it brings a flavor to you. But the reason I think that's going to be really more important as well is because AI engines now are part of the search equation. So we're not just looking for human validation. So those kind of will a human like and comment and like what I do? We're actually going to be looking at LinkedIn as a small proportion of the AI decision as to whether it mentions your name. And according to Gartner, so it's not my predictions, but 50% of all AI search will be within the AI engines by the end of 2026. That's 1 year away, 12
Mm.
months. And if AI doesn't know your name, you lose 50% of search. LinkedIn's going to be a big part of that for the authority. So people have got to
Yeah.
get their content game in order on LinkedIn because it's the biggest platform that people are going to go to for your credibility as a leader. And so I think they're C-suite teams as well, a lot of people are going to have to get hotter.
I mean, I absolutely with you on all of that. So just on one bit you said about
Mm,
the personal bit of posting, because I think it's important.
mm,
The opinion, having personal opinions, is definitely part of this. There is no. If there was a general problem or a specific problem that people have, and there was an obvious this is the way to fix it, then everyone would have fixed it. So having your own opinion on how to fix it is pretty important. Now you could ask a question, that then is, I think it has to be a kind of, that opinion comes from the experience, the specific experience that you have as an individual. You have a collection of experiences that will have ultimately said, and here is my opinion on this based on the number of times you fix that problem or whatever it may be. Um,
mm,
and so I think getting that across as a leader, as a founder, as an executive at a company is really important because you come back to this whole, all the Simon Sinek stuff about, why do you exist as a company? And you could ask,
yeah.
and one of the questions I always like to ask my clients and founders of them. So why did you set this up? I want to know not just the problems you fix for your clients, but how do you, presumably you set this business up because you believed you can do this in a different way to others. Yeah, you could do it better, faster, cheaper, typically one of those, right?
Mm,
So why? Tell me what your belief is that drives you. Then it's a question of building on that to generate the content that reflects that user's, that individual's story and passion.
mm,
The question I want to ask you, though, if I may,
mm.
is in a world of AI generated versus human generated, is it, opinions really should be from a human, but there's always going to be other facts and other things you want to create. Is it better to have an AI generated piece of information that is really quite excellent response because these LLMs are pretty clever versus a human generated piece of information that might be a bit off the mark? What do you think is a better art? What would you rather read?
I think, well, let me give you the in-depth answer. I think the short answer, the headline is that we're going to move into a world where most of the content that we see is going to be AI written. And actually, I get where you're going with that. And I do think that there is room for AI can generate better content and probably more endearing content than most humans, unless they get good at it. And to get good at it, you have to invest time in something. You have to go through pain barriers. You have to learn new skills. And that's the bit people don't want to do. They just want to do it at speed and take half an hour a week to do it. If that's where they are, then I think there's so I think there's definitely AI producing content with good prompt engineering, then I think is good. There's a place for that. What I would say is that I just want to go as well, kind of rewind because I think that the only defense against a sea of AI content, if everybody does it, if all 9 billion people do it, then the content goes up 5 times. We're talking video, infographics, pictures, click a button, AI will generate it. It's all going to feel samey. It's all
Oh,
going
no, I mean, it's all going to come from, if it all comes
eventually.
from the same source, then it
Eventually,
will.
yeah.
Yeah.
And where I was going with people, where I think, I'm almost changing my own vision for the future of LinkedIn. So beyond kind of let's get some thought leadership, beyond strategically having a funnel where if I discover you today, Elliot, I can click on your LinkedIn, I can see exactly what you stand for, who you serve, how you help, customer reviews, all that kind of stuff. I can look at your images, I can watch your videos. I can make a decision, get my 7 hours of content in without ever picking up the phone to you. So that when I call you, a LinkedIn done right should be Actually, I don't even need to discover. I just need to like clarify my questions and then, you're the one for
Yes.
me. That's where LinkedIn should be that good, I think.
Yes,
But
that's why the algorithm, sorry to interrupt you, but that's why the
mm,
algorithm is less important. Because actually, if you've come across me in other ways, I've connected with you, been introduced, there's other things, you're then
yeah,
using LinkedIn as a kind of saying, let's just validate this. Let's go to his profile. Okay. Yeah. Oh wow. Yeah, no, he used to work there. I had a great conversation yesterday with someone. I
yeah.
said, oh, I see you're actually connected to this person. She's an old friend of mine. Oh yeah, no, no, we're really good friends too, and blah 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 blah. Just help break the ice,
But
right?
that's the whole
Um,
point, yeah. So, I mean, I think people are missing that point that search now is everywhere. So, if just because someone sees you on Google, they don't buy on Google. The search is one thing. Google still has a strong presence in terms of its search, but they don't buy on Google. They're 9 times more likely to buy in the AI engine if you're one of the three names mentioned. 9 times. Actually, no, 7 times. 7 times more is
if,
the
if
stat.
they've if they've
Um,
searched, if they've
it,
initiated a search on
and
AI, and then they follow the results through, they're not then going back to Google to
No,
double
no, they're
check. Is that right?
buying 7 times more likely to buy if that name's been mentioned by AI.
Okay,
For
fine.
some reason, humans trust the name that's mentioned because they realize how hard it is to get it to mention your name in the first place. You're either massive or you have learned how to infiltrate
And
into
you
AI. But
and
but
as
let me
yet, you're
cover
not
onto
sponsoring.
that.
And yeah,
Let me just cover that point off on search because I think people aren't realizing that search is across the web. It's actually in 7 or 8 different platforms. And that's a huge problem for businesses as well. Because if you take LinkedIn to one side, because 80% of the leads are coming from LinkedIn, so that does need to be optimized. But a lot of businesses would tell me they're not on Facebook or they might be on Facebook or Instagram, for example, but they're probably not going to be on Reddit. They're probably not going to be on TikTok. They're probably not going to be on YouTube. Why? Because they have to invest time and money to be there. And it's a pay to play scenario. But the problem is that search is happening there, not in
mhm.
Google. And decisions are happening there, not in Google, not on LinkedIn, not on the platforms that most B2B businesses are. The decisions are being made across multiple channels. So people have to be everywhere. But the point, and I want to get your thoughts on this, but the point I was making about the AI is that it's important that you're in LinkedIn to be said by AI, that, as much as it is because of authority, that's the platform where people go to for what is your B2B authority. That's why people do their authority marketing on LinkedIn and, you know, um, thought leadership on LinkedIn is because they can get that across. I'm an expert, I know my industry, and it starts with LinkedIn for me, I think, as the kind of foundation of any personal brand that you're going to build for a B2B. If you're not on LinkedIn, well, they can't make the decision there when they go there, right? Um, but for AI, I think it's important not just even for the decisions, there's layers to this. Recruitment and retention. So for example, people don't think about that. Like your LinkedIn platform, if all of the leaders in a business have their LinkedIn platform, it says what they stand for, and you have personal opinions about how you treat your staff, your opinions on things that are in your industry, people can get a feel for what those leaders of that company stand for. 49% of Gen Z say they would quit a job within 18 months if it didn't align with their social and environmental standpoint. Um, and 60% of them say when they go to find a job, they will research that and they won't join a company. Gen Z and millennials, that's 50% of the potential workforce. So even from like a recruitment point of view, having a really good, strong brand as leaders on your LinkedIn, that's a great reason to do that, right? Because recruitment costs money, right? Keeping people, culture, it's
Yeah.
to
I,
build.
I mean, I would.
What do you think?
I mean, without, I don't. We don't want to get too political, but I
Yeah.
think there is someone's at a certain younger age, and I talk as not someone of a young age.
Me either. Yeah.
It's lovely to have the aspiration of saying, I only want to work for this ethically correct type of business, and then rejecting three job offers but then realizing at some point or other that that job offer from an oil company is actually paying quite well and they've got some bills to pay. And maybe at some point in all of our lives, the practicality of life may get in the way of the beauty of being able to pick and choose. And I would question whether a response to a survey entirely reflects the realities of the modern world
I'm
where
with you, but
you got,
let's not. I'm not going to stand on
but
a
let's
cliff
not
on
go,
it. But put it
yeah,
this
yeah, yeah.
way, though, then think of it this
But,
way:
mm,
most of the biggest companies in this world are working on corporate social responsibility and ESG. And why? Because actually, it's important to get contracts. It's important at tender stage. It's important that they're investing loads of money to show that they have
absolutely.
good values. If they're doing that, why the hell are they not talking about it on LinkedIn? Why the hell are they not talking about it, their leaders with personal brands? Why have it if you don't amplify it?
Well, I think the personal brand is really, really, really interesting here because
Mm.
you see the companies put out onto their company pages on LinkedIn, yeah, and maybe occasionally shared by someone.
Yeah.
Hey, this is our, corporate responsibility, all of this kind of really good stuff that they're doing.
Mm.
And then the founders or the executives are quiet. I can't be bothered, blah, blah, blah. And it is the combination of the two that is critical. You look, and that,
Mm.
and not just is it becoming increasingly so, but, you look back through examples of, I don't know, an obvious one for us British people, Richard Branson, right?
Yeah.
Richard Branson aligns his personal brand of this go-getter, exciting entrepreneurial adventurer to drive business without even really, to Virgin Atlantic or Virgin Trains or Virgin whatever. The two are working hand in hand. Um, and more and more, we know the CEOs and chairmen and owners of these companies. You look at, for an opposite example, and an obvious one is whereby Tesla has a brand that says we are selling environmentally friendly cars to liberal people across the world that want to not just save money on petrol, but actually do something good for the environment. You then have a leader of that who starts talking directly opposite and saying, aligns himself with a drill baby drill mentality. And what happens to the brand of his company? Well, the sales across Europe and probably across the States as well, start plummeting because people are like, well, I don't want to be associated
And
with
originally
that
that
kind of
was a
thing.
brand that was built with Nikola Tesla, wasn't it? Is it Nikola? Nikola Tesla.
No, I think it was named after. No, no, Nikola Tesla's is
But it was brand led. It was
very.
founder
It
brand
was
led by
no, no, but
someone.
it was named after him. But I don't believe it had anything to do with him. I think it was just named after him and what he achieved as
Well, it,
a,
Coco, Chanel,
But
KFC,
yes,
most of the brands we know well started with a personal brand. It started with someone pushing that agenda into
yes.
into
Um,
the brand.
Yeah, and most of them, but I think that is increasing. But my point is that
Mm,
you have to have, as a if you're responsible for marketing that company, you have to have your executive, at very least, supporting, definitely not producing, going the opposite way, right? They have
mm,
to be in step here. And so if I'm talking to a CMO head of marketing, I'm saying, what are your execs doing on LinkedIn? Oh, they can't be bothered with it. We post on the company page. Like, not good enough. They have to be leading
yeah.
from the front. They have to have their opinions. To go back to an
If
earlier point, I
listen,
don't care who
Elliot, I
writes
mean,
that opinion.
I think
Hmm?
on that, if we asked anyone in general, like forget if you have a business or not, how important is your reputation? They would say it's incredibly important to them because we as humans, it's really important. But if you're not, then your executives So, because I'm with you, I think you probably sometimes not even the founder is doing it because they can't be bothered. They don't see it as valuable. I see it as incredibly valuable in the world we're going into. But I think for the founders and all of their executives should have a voice, should have what they stand for, and for that to be public, in the world that we're going into. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, people will research. People, you're doing there's commercial benefits to it, not just having a voice for the sake of it. But if
Yeah.
you are pitching for a large contract with someone, they want to know who you are. They want to know the people behind the business, no matter how big a company it is. They want to know that they're not going to be embarrassed by forming a partnership with someone, no matter what size of company, with someone that is like, really, you're associated with that person? That doesn't make any sense. Um, and so for both positive, there's incredibly valuable reasons to be out there telling about your story from a different angle. Let the company
Mm.
talk about the features and benefits, yeah, of the product. Fine.
Yeah.
Talk about the case studies. You talk about why you really believe this is the right way to approach this challenge, why you believe that this is this is an important problem that needs to be addressed. All of these important things, and share your opinions on them as the leader, and you will it have this huge multiplier amplification. People, we talk phrase people buy from people and all this kind of stuff, but social media, you look at the followers and unlike you, I don't have every stat in front of me, but I'm sure we can find them. It's like, how many followers does Apple have? Um, and how many times when they post something, let's say on Instagram or even X, versus, I'm not talking about Steve Jobs, the charismatic leader here. I'm talking about Tim Cook. Tim Cook has more, right? Gets
Yeah.
more reactions.
That's
Now,
very common. And it's not just
and
more.
he's, with all due respect to Mr. Cook, not the most charismatic of people to follow. I really would like to double check
But
that
also,
stat,
it's
by
not
the way.
just more, Elliot. It's not just more. It's
Hmm.
100 times more. It's massive amounts more. So it's 250,000 to 12 million more. People follow people. They don't follow.
Right.
People don't
And that's
care. People don't
and
really
that's who the
care
brands
anymore.
people are passionate about. That's who the brand people
Yeah.
genuinely care about versus a CEO that people are like, I mean, what was it Donald Trump called him? Tim Apple. It just so yeah. I can look up the data and the stats, but it is incumbent upon 15 million for Tim Cook. Yeah, it's incumbent upon the CEO, the leaders, to get stuck in and talk. Yeah, it is
So
incumbent
in
upon
terms of,
people
I
to
don't
build their
just
networks.
sorry to butt in.
Please.
So the just thinking for the audience then, just to cover off, I think the value. The value is further reaching than business development. The value is further reaching than the brand. It's further than leads. It's further than pipeline, deal flow, conversations. Further than that, it's acquisitions, it's mergers, it's investments, it's culture, it's recruitment, it's retention. All of those things are bred by businesses that have leaders who are prepared to put themselves above the parapet and not just post safe, easy,
Yeah.
but
Here's our
post
press release
stuff
kind of stuff. Yeah.
that pushes 70% of people away so that you can really stand for your audience and be really authentic for why you do something, why you solve problems, what your opinions are, what your beliefs are, what it's like to work for you, why should an investor give you your business money. I mean, like real opinions. So the value's there, and you can't really dispute that. And in a sea of AI content where anyone can produce a video, it's going to get more and more important. To the point where I think that the billionaires of tomorrow will be individuals with personal brands and audiences, not companies at all. Um, so they do need to educate, they do need to nurture, and we've established that they need to broadcast. So bringing it back to LinkedIn. Um, what from a AI and automation point of view, then, how can it become easier so that people can move at speed? Because everyone's doing that, right? Everyone's using AI to move at
Yeah.
speed more
I
and more.
um The obvious answer for AI is that it helps you personalize a message. However, there's a big however. There's no point personalizing a message just for the sake of personalizing a message. I once recently got a direct message from someone that had been to my LinkedIn profile. They'd seen I was in London, and it said, "Hi, I see you're in London." I could tell. I know the workflow. It had then gone to this is the town. It had gone to an app, let's say Clay or something, that said, "Look up something about that town." Find me something interesting and say something as an icebreaker and then say something else.
And
That was the
yeah,
workflow. And and it's hi, I see you're in London. Have you been to London Zoo? I hear that the penguins are really interesting there. Or, or also, would you like a new
yeah.
accountant? And I'm like, what? Now, if you'd have used, let's flip that on its head. Yeah, let's turn that round. If you'd have used AI in a way that had said, that had actually done some work, not just on me and my postings, but on the company. And it had said, "Hey, I see that you've recently hired 5 people. I can see you've been investing in this, and or you're growing from here. Um, I had done some actual research. I guess that might mean that you're going from an different stage of the company. Is this the right time to look at some aspects of different of accounting services, maybe getting some tax advice or whatever it may be?" You could personalize in a way that is actually relevant as opposed to this. And I get we're early stages on it. All that people are doing, it seems, a lot, not all, a lot of what people do at the moment is it says, "Hey, I can personalize because I have a clever system. I read your post and I saw you posted about X. That's really cool. Now I'm going to completely ignore this and talk about myself." Yeah. So I guess that means you need a new, gardener. Like, what are you talking about? So I think AI used well, used really well, can make the message from person A to person B not just relevant to the person offering, reaching out, awful word, but you know what I mean, but actually really like interesting and helpful and relevant to that recipient in a way that might normally take us uh, an hour or 2 hours of research to really drill in. I don't think people care if it is AI or human written. There's a few people that seem to go, "Oh, this is written by a bot." I'm like, whatever. But if the message itself or the post or whatever it may
Mhm.
be is genuinely helpful, that question I asked you earlier about, would you rather read something that was AI generated and good or human generated and suboptimal? If I receive a message that goes, "Hey, it looks like I saw you recently. You were talking at this event, and you talk at this event, and you're there. Does that mean you might need some help with this, that, and the other?" Okay, yeah, it's relevant. It's not going to be relevant 100% of the time. It's going to be relevant 80%.
Mhm.
Whatever. It's 40% of the time. I think that's the first thing to do. I think the second thing is in workflow and automation is to help salespeople with their job in a way, in many different ways, not just the initial outreach, but continuing the conversation at the right time. How many times have we said to someone, or someone said, "Hey," or received and say, "You know what, it's not right. It's not right for me at the moment, but I'm getting some investment in. Can you come back to me in 6 months' time?" And the salesperson just forgotten, moved on, hasn't bothered, hasn't logged in, nothing. And I think a
Yeah.
tool that helps manage that, whereby, and that's not AI, it's just well, it's AI to read the message, right? But to diarize it and to know that following up is going to be appreciated by both sides of that equation. Hey, you said you'd asked me to follow up in,
Mm.
you know, whatever, January, hope things are going well. Did you get that thing fixed that you were looking to get fixed first? It's now a good time to have a conversation. As a recipient of that, I'm thinking, oh, these guys know what they're on top of it. They're organized, they're structured, they are reliable. The salesperson, just by doing what they say they're going
Mhm.
to do, it's one of my. you build so much trust in such a simple way. After the
Mm,
call, following up, promising to get back in touch in 3 months' time, whatever it may be. These are basic things that so many people forget, and it just kills relationships. So there's very
mm.
simple ways that, structured well, AI can really help with the right automation, can really help
So
get that sales process done, build trust well.
So I want to move on to talk because I agree with you. And we do have to move at speed. You know, AI is not something you can pick whether you use it or not. If you don't use it, you fall behind. It's as simple as that. So you've got to look at ways you can use it, but use it to amplify and not to I don't know, try and recklessly speed up or to not do something. I think amplifying it, using your intelligence and then using AI to amplify what you could already do as a human is going to be the key step. So the algorithms changes coming up in November 2025, by the way. There's going to be training into AI data. So training
Yeah,
um,
we had to check a box recently, right? They said, "Do you agree that you can read all my posts and messages and everything else?"
Yeah, exactly. So to train AI, so what more reason than to get your LinkedIn data in order? And the other thing then is that it's going to be rewarding more evergreen high value content. So the flipping the mindset in terms of how can I help my audience? How can I give away lots of how-tos, like helpful, rich content, not look how amazing we are, look at the events we go to kind of content. But actually engaging with the audience. And then obviously towards video and LinkedIn has a big push towards video. What's your thoughts on where LinkedIn's going moving forward? And for businesses who might be thinking, well, I agree, heard everything you say, and I want to do some content posting. Where are we going?
I think I come back to whatever is best to helping people learn. I want to see. I think if it's learning data, I mean, to be honest, I think most people just assume these platforms is reading everything anyway, right? And learning from what you said and training itself without asking permission. It's very nice of them to ask the permission. You know, let's not forget LinkedIn is owned by Microsoft. There's the largest
And let's not
investor in
forget that people
ChatGPT
don't,
anyway.
well, people don't have the time to read the disclosures, so they just tick the box anyway. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Um, whether content is video content, I do want to see things being helpful. I will reserve judgment as to whether I start seeing that stuff that's helpful. Um, I want to make, in a way, it's difficult because you see a lot of these videos of people just doing a screenshot of saying, here's my new workflow, comment this to get it, and blah, blah, blah. And
Mhm.
is that helpful or is it just clickbait to try and sort of capture leads? Depends on the actual content, I suppose. I'd like to just see them just say, this is what we do, um, for almost, just rather than just try and capture data all the time. I think in
Mm.
terms of video versus written versus interactive polls and things like that, um, I think fundamentally people learn in different ways, and I think that needs to be reflected. And I think that some people learn from watching a 3 second short story. Some people learn from watching an in-depth, a video of an hour. Some people learn from reading data. Some people learn from reading stories. I think it needs to reflect. Now, LinkedIn can learn the user of what they like more. So I would like to see that kind of balance, not just one form of content, one structure of content.
Can I
Because,
ask you a
yes,
question?
you may. Yes.
Give me the name of two people whose content that you follow.
Daniel Priestley,
Yeah,
um, and Alex Hormozy.
love those. I follow them too. So I feel like I'm intrigued, even more intrigued by the next answer, because that was two questions, but I'm going to ask you another question. Um, what do
That
you
was one
know?
question. It was one question. It's you asked for two answers.
Yeah. What do you know about those two people other than their companies that they have? Anything?
Yes. So
Tell me what you've noticed.
Daniel, I know from Homegrown. We're both members of the same club, business club in London. Worked with them in their marketing. I
Ah,
attend that a lot. I also was on the Dent KPI course. So plenty of conversations with Daniel and his colleagues over the years. I'm a user of Score app as well. Alex, I've read at least one of his books. And in which he talks a lot about his background and things like that, and how he is,
but what do you know?
look,
Give me anything you would know about them as people. And anything.
Alex Ramirez is married to a lady called Layla. They struggled a lot at the start, like anybody, and he made some money, got into the gym business. You can tell he's quite into his fitness. Um, and that's, part of their story and background that I read about in his book. Then Daniel is from Australia, lives in, I'm not going to go there. But yeah, it's
What do you think
Southwest
about their
London.
values? So I know that like Priestley's a family man. I mean, he's got kids. He talks about his kids quite a lot, doesn't he?
Yeah,
And
and his values are getting actually very interesting, more political as well in terms of how he, the state of the UK and the tax system and the encouragement. He's quite passionate about encouraging entrepreneurship, which is great, and how the sort of current UK politicians aren't necessarily behind him on that one, and that's a struggle. And he
mm.
looks at the sort of the brain flight out of the UK. Um, uh, yeah,
So he
well,
stands for something, right? And equally Hormozy stands for something, you know. So I remember
yeah,
like
yeah.
Daniel talks about his kids and he talks about his, the state of the UK and he talks about entrepreneurship as being like this savior for the state of the UK and the education system and him and Simon Squibb and other people. And then they all kind of, but they talk about things that's nothing related to business. But what they're
Mhm.
talking about is relating to them as individuals. And Daniel Priestley and Alex Hormozy's brand is massive, but so are their businesses that are fueled by that in the Richard Branson kind of way. But me and you know a lot. Like Daniel Priestley went on, he stood at the top of a mountain in Asia and that he told a thing about the instructor and what the instructor said. And Daniel said, "Oh, I'm looking at the other mountain across the other side. Tell me about that mountain." And the instructor said to him, "Why don't you learn to appreciate and worship the mountain that you stood on first?" And he sees that as a lesson of gratitude. Like he thinks people forget where they've come and they should give themselves on the pat on the back. He tells stories like that, and so does Alex. All of them do, and they're nothing to do
Mm.
with the business. That's the bit I want to challenge our audience with is don't be afraid to have strong opinions and values and to tell your story as people, because people buy people and then they buy your brand.
I mean, yes, I've recently written a book all about the frustrations called Invisible to Impactful. Um,
That was such a
Available at
good
all
tee
good.
up, wasn't it?
Thank you very much. And it talks about, and I've kind of alluded to, I think, during the conversation about the the frustrations people have as a leader of being invisible and the impact that has on you and your business. And if you can find a way going from being invisible to creating an impact in whatever it may be, that's going to help you and your company and your life and everything in the long term. And
Mm.
you've said, in the past, I know that it's okay to annoy 80% of people and to light 20%,
Stephen Bartlett,
because
that is a quote from Stephen Bartlett said,
yeah, but I'm going to
you
give
want
you
to
credit. I'll
avoid."
give you credit for it.
No,
That's
no,
that's
no,
fine.
don't do that. But
No, when you talk to a customer and they say, "Who's your ideal target?" and they go, "Oh, everyone," you go, "No, do me a favor. Focus, 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 focus." Do you know what? If I've only got 20% of the entire world buying my stuff, I'm okay with that. Yeah, if only
Mm.
could, people, if you can delight 20%,
You'd be very wealthy.
you're doing okay. But this is, you know, it's, I think there's a generation of people that need to say, it's okay. You've got to have an opinion. I think people get scared. I think they get scared when they read about cancel culture. They read about the negatives and things like that. Well, don't be a prat. Don't don't give us all, you know, don't give us all your opinions if you've learnt them from, you know, your old, you know, your grandpa 30, 40 years ago. That don't go there. But when it comes to your business that you are, whether you founded it or you run it now, or you're a salesperson for it or a marketing person, you have knowledge. And one of my biggest frustrations is when you go around a table at a meeting and someone says, "Oh no, I'm just a salesperson." Excuse me, you're the most
Yeah.
important person, and you're the front
The
of this
engine room.
company. I'm buying from you. I'm trusting you. When you follow up, when you say you do, there's a little tick of trust. When I ask you, you know, when we're having the initial conversation and you challenge me and you say, actually, have you tried doing this way? Because because I've been speaking every day to 50 of your competitors, and this is actually a good way of doing it. I'm like, oh, I'm learning from you. The people
Yeah.
we trust most are the people we learn from, our
And the
teachers.
people also, Elliot, who are authentic, the people who are prepared to say, "Do you know, actually, I'm not perfect. Here's something I messed up on," that almost nobody of old school does. Nobody can, but the reality is people are people, and nobody has got to where they are without failure. In fact, success is the amount of failure and then just, the audacity to get back up and keep going and keep trying to reach the top of the mountain, right? I want to get your opinion on something. I saw a Neil Patel video. Do you know Neil Patel?
I'm aware of Mr. Patel. Yes,
Yeah.
very aware of Mr.
And he was talking about his view on LinkedIn, and I want to get your view on it because I think I messed up with the algorithm because over many, many years before getting to here, I've accumulated, if I could say the word, a number of followers, and they're of different types of niches. So what he was saying is that you should have this Dream 100 strategy. It's a 5-minute video. I'm going to give you the 50-second overview. It's a Dream 100 strategy. So you take the 100 dream clients that you would want to have and you work that out. And then rather than connect with them, you go and connect with the 500 to 1,000 people that they connect with, the things that they're interested in. And then you connect with that marketplace and become a part of that marketplace, which drives visibility to the top 100. They're more likely to connect with you if you engage with the peers around them and you have connections in common. So that was the first bit. This, the second bit was around strategic connections matter. So instead of connecting with what people that you're interested in, that he was talking about connecting with people within your niche. So only connecting with people within your niche and being really solely focused to alienate everyone else outside of that. So that they will really engage. When you take that approach then of how can I help these people?
Hmm.
You can offer even more authentic values so that they will really engage. And then that's going to drive the algorithm. He went further to say the hooks, the magic hooks that you use at the start, like you would in SEO to get Google to pick up your content. Um, but then the hooks that you use, the first three or four, 5 words, or the first sentence even, needs to be driven in a way to get people to click the see more button. What he's claiming is if you did that and you started from scratch and you only did that technique, the algorithm would pick you up and would make you fly because the engagement would be so incredible. And then the top 100 would you'd attract them almost in a manifestation way. What's your thoughts on that? I found it really interesting.
I'm not sure that's how humans work when it comes to building trust. I think it's nice to
Calculated,
get the
isn't
bit.
it?
I think it's nice to get the visibility, but I would say be true to yourself. I think it's
Yeah.
important, building your network in a strategic way is important. Connect, go out there and connect every day to
Mm.
potential people you can work with in whatever way, as say customers, leads, partners, investors, staff. Do that and say hello and introduce yourself. Being so prescriptive to try, I just don't buy this. I just, I don't believe in posting just for the algorithm. I think you've got to, you have said, have your opinions,
Yeah.
share them. Now, of course, you want to write it in a
Be
way that,
unapologetic.
yeah, but now, of course, you want to have a hook that gets people to click more. Yeah, not for the algorithm. Do it for the human, right? Do it in a way that you want to encourage people to follow your story because that's just how people read and how people learn and nature. So I feel that we're never going to know this bloody algorithm. And by the time we work it out, it'll have changed. So write
Yeah.
the opening line to your post should be something, of course, that hooks someone in, that is interesting, that is thought provoking. Hey, have you ever done blah, blah, whatever you want to put into your hook? Um, and the content and the network should be naturally the people you want to speak to anyway. So I just feel that if that people that I get it in certain industries, yeah, SD, if you are, AI, SEO and SEO companies and all these kinds of things, your job is to follow that algorithm, and that's what people pay money for you to do. But I think as for the rest of the business leaders, do what say don't overthink it. Don't
Yeah.
spend
It's
so much time going, have I got the lighting right and the hook right and the this right? My video content is bloody
right
awful.
now, I think that's great advice. And I think the authenticity angle and that's Daniel Priestley right now. I mean, if in the UK people are going to know that name, probably more globally even. Daniel Priestley
Australia,
and
yeah.
Stephen Bartlett kind of going hand in hand as probably some of the most influential, heavily backed by influential people, content creators that exist right now, holding the audience. And Daniel Priestley is holding webinars and events and promoting those and bringing people in on that very basis.
And it is
That
to promote a
the,
business. He has a
but the,
product. He
yeah,
has
yeah,
a
absolutely.
product to sell.
But the brand and the strap line and the logo and the is in a sea of AI content, the only defense is you. The only authenticity is you. And that's going to
Yes.
get stronger and stronger. So start now, right? And I think that
Yeah, and
leads
be
to,
true to yourself, not to link. These guys in
yeah.
LinkedIn that are coding the algorithm sitting just out south of San Francisco in a very nice office with a big logo outside, right? That say in their terms and conditions, you really must only connect with people you know or have met, ideally you've met. They've never sat there and had to grow a business. Yeah,
Mm,
they're being paid big bucks anyway to make everything all nice and pretty. It's not the reality. You need to
yeah.
forget the algorithm. Don't worry about all of that. Don't try and make all your content perfect. Get out there and publish something. Right. Give people a chance to consume the 7 hours by putting the first 15 minutes out there and doing that in a consistent way.
And then get
You
better.
and then get better. Sure. But to your point, 99% of people haven't started or have started and have stopped. And that's great for those of us that publish, fine. But we're missing those invisible voices. We're missing those experts. And that business is
Mm.
going to a 15-year-old who's got an automated system to pump stuff
And
out.
they
And
and they need to do
that's
it.
not fair.
But Elliot, what I would say as well is, we talked about those. So Daniel Priestley, Alex Hormozy, Cody Sanchez. There's loads that I follow, and they've all started doing this. I haven't got my phone to hand. They've all started doing this. no backgrounds, no role. Most of the time, walking in a park, walking on the
Look
road,
at Hormozy's first
and
video.
they.
Go back to his first one.
Oh no, but forget the
Bloody
first
awful.
videos. I'm saying they're doing it now. They're going from their
Oh,
polished
right.
content. They're moving from polished content to authentic content to
Ah, yeah,
I'm
yeah.
human and I have an idea. This is me sweating in the gym. This is me waking up. Look at my hair. It's all over the place. They're not looking for, "Oh, I've just had my makeup
Yeah.
done. Look
The,
how
the,
amazing
the
I am."
ironic
Yeah.
danger. The danger is that sometimes you see these people who have spent a fortune trying to create an authentic piece of content that looks like they're just having a walk down the street.
Well, yeah.
And
And that blow dried hair and
yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
But I feel it's just, I feel that if there's a message I want to give from this, it's
Yeah.
just, and please feel free to join me in the message or disagree, but it's don't worry about anything, just share an opinion. The only thing is make sure that opinion in some, reflects why you do what you do and how you help people. Yeah.
And if
Let's,
80% of people turn against you, don't see that as a negative, because in doing that, 20% of people will fight for you. That's where you
do you
got to
know
fight.
what? And yeah, absolutely right. But also, LinkedIn actually, it's generally a pretty polite crowd.
Yeah.
Yeah. I find if someone, it's very rare someone will, it's not Twitter, X, yeah, where someone, was that great Ricky Gervais sketch where someone says, if you put into a town hall, normal life, someone puts a picture up going on the billboard saying, guitar lessons here. If that was on Twitter, someone would phone up and go, I don't want guitar lessons. Why are you even talking about them? It's like, well, what? Stop arguing with them. I just want to advertising
Yeah.
guitar lessons. So don't know where I was going with that one, but LinkedIn is. I even the no's when I send and I see it all the time. We send on our behalf of our clients so many direct messaging. Even the no's are no thank yous. Even the
Are
people that
polite.
says,
Yeah.
because do you know
So,
why? I haven't messaged them 15 times in 5 minutes. I've just invited them to come to this round table, or would they like to access a quiz, etc., etc.
so
It's all right.
some of the take, yeah, I agree. And some of the takeaways then, so post authentic content, do get involved with video because that it drives quite a lot at the moment. Look
Yes.
at look at how you can genuinely add value and educate and give for free. Give us game is a huge thing. Like I've got all BNI there, but I'm not.
Yeah.
Give us game goes further than that, and I think that what you give is what you receive. Be authentic. Don't worry about the algorithm as such, but just give some of your opinions away. Give someone something to grab hold of who you stand for. And for big business, you need all of your executive suite. It goes further, as I said, than just can we make money off LinkedIn? It's about acquisitions, revenue, investments, recruitment, getting onto podcasts, all of those kind of things, culture. Um, I don't think people even see it that way. There's an opportunity from the content side of it to to make a statement.
All about the
Ah,
content and all about that. I don't it
ah,
is authentic, it being authentic. Don't fake the authenticity.
So yeah, so I think people t some takeaways then are that post more often, just authentic content. So if people are thinking, I'm going to get on and I'm going to do some LinkedIn, what do I do? Don't think too much about the content. It's just about trying to help people, trying to educate people, genuinely having some thoughts and some opinions, and who are you as a person? Not just trying to be who you want people who you think people want you to be. A little bit of personal branding, and then this kind of givers gain is huge and it's massive. And if you are a big business and you have an executive team, then really they all ought to have opinions and personal brands that are far more reaching in terms of the business's revenue and growth and the numbers on the back end, um, which come down to acquisitions, mergers, recruitment, culture, retention, all those numbers that cost businesses huge. And factoring in Gen Z, if 49% of them are going to research you, or 60% of them are going to research you before they come work for you, then why not talk to them about your corporate social responsibilities and ESG within that content? So, from your point of view, there's a lot to take in there, but I think it covers all of our audience. Yeah, anything that we've missed out? What's your thoughts on key takeaways?
I yeah, I mean, for me, I don't think I think the benefits are so obvious. I think everybody know. I do think that's an open door we're pushing on. I think
Mm,
where people are struggling is the how. What do I do? How do I do it? Not why. They know deep down that they have to do it. And I think that's where, when you say don't worry too much about the content, I would say to some degree, I mean, focus in on why you do what you do and what you believe in to help and how you think you can help people. Start with educating people and having an opinion. Yeah, you've got experience, show it. Don't be afraid. Um, I strongly believe, don't worry about the algorithm. Being authentic, yes, but don't fake authenticity. Yeah, don't have the camera crew where you've got your hand out so it looks like that, and there's actually a cameraman saying, just do it. Yeah.
mm.
Um, if you can't work out, and then when it comes to AI, use AI to give you ideas, to draft things, to come up with some scripts of what to write about, to talk about, to video. Use a human, preferably yourself, just to double check it. Um, so don't be afraid of using AI to make your job easier. Do things like if you need to just batch record or batch write a whole load of stuff, go for it. Make your life easier. Um, but start with you and your opinions, and don't just actually, do you know what? I'll just leave it with one word. Just start.
Yeah. And also, I would add to that as well, Elliot, because I think you've described it very well there. I think also you should think about your content and the purpose of your LinkedIn, which is for lead generation, as some people would look at it. It is for getting your values across. But think of the search aspect, as myself and Elliot have pointed out, 80% of people, when they make a buying decision in B2B, will check out the LinkedIn profile of the founder typically. So if someone's going to check your LinkedIn profile to decide whether to buy from you, then make sure you have top, middle, and bottom of funnel. So the vanity metrics that we talked of, it's really hard to get likes and comments and impressions from this algorithm right now. No matter who you are or how big you are, it's difficult to
Yeah,
get likes and impressions. But you still want to have some top of funnel. People need to like you, and that's where the opinions are going to come in. Do definitely still share some of those kind of middle of funnel, the exhibitions you go to, the networks you go to, the successes behind the scenes, those kind of stories. And definitely share some of the case studies. People want to see proof that you can do what you say you can do, but also that you're the right person for them.
absolutely. A mix of content, a mix of styles. Just get
It's easy,
cracking.
really,
You
isn't
can
it? Just do
perfect.
it.
Just do it. There you go. Um, that was fun. Thank
It's
you.
been a pleasure. Appreciate you coming on, Elliot. And yeah, if any final words or tell us who you're looking for, who would you be looking to work with if they're watching today?
The clients I work with are um, they're as a LinkedIn person, we're obviously in the B2B. Our clients are in the B2B space. But the way I describe my clients is that they are great coders, accountants, coaches. They're not that are fantastic at what they do, but sometimes need a bit of help in promoting and marketing and building that pipeline. And if they're looking at becoming, they know they need to become more visible. They know they need to get more active on LinkedIn. And
Hmm.
I'd be happy to give them some advice, give them some tips, and introduce them to what my companies can do. But those are, wherever they're in the world, happy to help out. So please, connect with me on LinkedIn, etc., and all that kind of good stuff.
Great. And if you're watching in the audience and you want to use Elliot and to connect with him, I'll put a link in the comments. If you're looking to buy his book, I'll put a link in the comments, and I'll also put a link to the Maestro tool because I think that's interesting for people to take a look at.
Fantastic.
Nice.
Thank you. That's
Have a good
great. Thank
day.
you so much, Dean. It's good to, thanks everybody. Cheerio. Bye now.
Bye bye.